Folks, we are back for UFC 301. We're going to break down this entire card in depth. All of the links are in the description. Feel free to check those out. Let's go ahead and get into that first up next. This is easily one of my favorite divisions because of fights like this. Flyweight matchup between Kevin Borjas and Alessandro Costa. 4-1 in the last fight for Borjas, 3-2 for Costa. This is a good fight. It's going to be a fun fight, and I think the way that these two line up makes this fight more exciting than if, either of these two were just facing somebody that doesn't have that opposite style, right? For Kevin Borjas, dude's a solid striker, great combinations, mixes in knees and elbows in his combos. He can kick as well. Good countering ability. The one problem I don't like about his counter is sometimes he gets that lean back defense trying to do like a lot of pull counters, and that can be a problem against high volume strikers. Not facing one here, so it shouldn't be a problem here, but I put it in there just in case. But he does have a really good ability to catch a low kick, throw that cross, drop his opponent, and instead of falling him to the mat like a doofus, what he does is says, no, get back up. And that's something I really like about him because it shows fight IQ, shows the guy knows where he's good, where he can win the fight, and he's not gonna go into the other person's game plan. So I love that for Borjas. Works the body very well, and this guy's incredibly fast. He does have pretty decent takedown defense. I know it doesn't look like it on paper sometimes. You see like a lot, you see the numbers, he's been taken down, but he's shown a good sprawl and a good ability to get that cross face and pull his opponent up, getting that arm across the face, getting under the nose, things like that, and drag his opponent's face up, get him into the clinch, and then separate. He refuses to accept the bottom as well, so if they take him down, he does fight to get back to his feet and get back to what he's good at, right? That's the striking. On the other side, Costa's a good striker as well. He's got tons of power. That overhand is just deadly. He rips the body well, and he sticks the jab pretty well, but the problem is he's low volume, which is why I don't think he's going to be able to make Borjas pay for the lean back defense. The volume is the issue, but I think in the power shots, the jab, thing like that, he could have some pretty good success. In the grappling, he's going to be better. He's the better grappler. He's got good takedown defense. He's not going to need it here. He's got a good takedown ability when he gets in close, can do that. He's got good ground and pound, and he's an armbar specialist. Ultimately, for me, though, Kevin Borjas was one of the first picks that just jumped off the page at me when I was looking at this. And then when I went back into it, I looked at it, and I'm like, why is this guy the underdog? I think he's going to have more volume. I think he's going to land the better shots. I think he's just going to put a pace on Costa that Costa can't keep up with. And I feel pretty good about Borjas here. And maybe this is just jumping back to when I picked him on the Contender Series as a massive underdog and everybody else was on the other side. Borjas is getting this one done, I do believe, but it's MMA. Crazy stuff happens. I feel pretty good about Borjas as an underdog. Let me know what you think. Lightweight matchup here between Ismael Bonfim and Vince Pichel. Now, this fight was booked once before. It didn't happen. Here it is now. Vince Pichel, 3-2 in his last 5, 4-1 on the Bonfim side. The age gap here is pretty significant at 41 for Pichel and 28 for Bonfim. Bonfim's been fighting for a long time, though. He's been fighting since he was pretty young, actually a teenager, and that shows because he's got actually more fights than the 41-year-old in Pichel. And that's because Pichel is extremely inactive in his career. The guy does not fight super often. He's fought maybe 3 times since 2020. It's usually at least a year between fights, usually more though. So 14-3 for a 41-year-old. He's obviously taking the time to recover in between fights, which is good. But I think he just takes that a little bit too far, if you ask me. But what do I know? I'm not fighting in the UFC either. So for this one here, Pichel, dude's a good striker, right? He's got pretty good striking. He's got decent power. I believe he's got 8 knockouts in his career, but they're all way earlier in his career. He still maintains that pop on his punches, but it's not. Maybe he just doesn't have the power he did early in his career, or maybe he just has changed his game plan. And I think that's more what it is. He's more grappling focused these days, but he does still have some decent power. Guy picks his shots very well on the feet, looks for the openings, finds where he needs to go, but a lot of times it's the grappling that's getting it done for him. So in the cage push, which is something that I do like for him here, if he can control Bonfim against the cage, I think he's going to be able to use this technique very well, where he lands his elbows up against the cage while controlling his opponents. He does a good job of controlling them there. He's got good scrambles, and even though his takedown defense isn't the best, he's very good with sweeps and reversing position even on the way to the mat. I would say Pichel is a somewhat live dog in this matchup, but he's going against a guy in Ismael Bonfim who looks to have the goods outside of that loss to Benoit Saint-Denis. And I understand a lot of people kind of just thought that was it. He's a bomb after that, which I think those people are silly. And I think that they watch too much boxing or something, and if you lose once, you're a chump. I don't think that's the case. I think Bonfim's pretty good. Dude's a solid striker with power, puts together good combinations. He's got very good countering ability. Timing on that is excellent, and he does have that awesome flying knee. He landed against McKinney, but he's used it before in his matchup, but in his matchups. But the McKinney one is the one that we remember. Bonfim is a very explosive, deadly striker, but he's also very good on the mat. He's got very solid grappling, solid Brazilian jiu-jitsu, nasty ground and pound, and he's going to use that to set up his submission attempts, which he's had a few of those in his career as well. Good takedown defense. And when somebody fails a takedown against Bonfim, he really makes them pay for that failed attempt. I do think he's probably one of the better jiu-jitsu guys with takedown defense, because a lot of the jiu-jitsu guys are willing to just go to their back. And that is actually something that he's done before, because we have seen him pull guard occasionally, and I do not like that for him, especially in this matchup. Because if Pichel gets on top of him, he could rack up some time up there and just do what he needs to do to win a round. Ultimately, though, I think the pick is pretty clear. You have to go with Bonfim here. He's younger, more explosive, more deadly. I think he's the all-around better fighter, but Pichel's a crafty vet, and if he's going to win, what he needs to do is slow this fight down, get that cage push going, maybe get some top control on the ground, and just kind of make it a gritty grind fest. And I think Pichel is capable of doing that, but with the inactivity, with fighting a young up-and-coming guy who should be still developing at this point, I got to take Bonfim. Let me know what you have. I'll see you in the next fight. Up next. Dione Barbosa takes on Ernesta Karackatie. I probably screwed that name up. We're just going to go with it, though. For Karackatie, she is 4-0 in a draw in her last 5 fights, 5-0 in a draw in her whole career. We have a 6-2 Dione Barbosa. I probably messed that up. For Barbosa, she's 3-2 in her last 5. The height is going to be massively on the side of Karackatie. She's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. On Barbosa's side, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach. So that is going to be a problem on the feet for Barbosa. Karackatie is going to be the better striker, too. I know I have them both listed as good, but it's a different kind of good, right? For Karackatie, she's light on the toes. She's going to just keep her head moving constantly, feinting, and just kind of trying to set stuff up. The problem is sometimes she feints a little bit too much. In fact, her last fight is the first fight that we actually saw her throw a ton of volume, and it ended up being a ton of volume. Before that, she spent a lot of time just feinting and feinting and feinting, to the point where sometimes she was just feinting her way through a fight and not actually throwing any shots. But when she does throw, she's got very fast combinations and very, very precise and deadly knees. I do like the striking out of Karackatie, especially with the improvements that she showed in her last matchup. The problem with her game is her takedown defense and her ability to get back up. She gets stuck on the mat. She can't defend the takedowns against opponents that have good takedowns. And she also can be held against the cage as well. She's going against Barbosa, who has pretty good striking, and a lot of that's set up by her grappling skills. But she does have a quick 1-2 as well, and that's going to help her enter into the grappling range. She's got solid grappling, very good top control. She can get the fight to the mat with trips, as well as decent just regular takedowns, good timing on those that make the takedown look even better. When she gets to the mat, she is also very quick to attack the submissions. Guys, there's a lot of fights on this that I feel like, the line's wide or it's close and this, that, and the other. This one is one where I do feel pretty good about the Barbosa side. And let me tell you why before we jump right into the end here. But Barbosa is a girl who, she is Chris Cyborg's primary jiu-jitsu partner. She has a judo background as well as an excellent Brazilian jiu-jitsu game. If she can get a hold of Karackatie in this one, she's taken this fight to the mat, and I don't see how Karackatie gets back to her feet. Now, I could be proven wrong. This is MMA. Things change. But if you look at Karakkatie's record, in her last 4 fights, she has 3 split decision wins and a draw. I understand she's getting these wins and stuff, but she's keeping these fights really close, and these aren't against fighters the level of Barbosa. Barbosa is very, very skilled on the mat and in the grappling sense, and her striking is pretty good as well. I've got to go with Barbosa here, and I feel pretty good about it. I feel like the line's justified. I feel like it probably should even be wider, but let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just being silly. Let me know, and I'll see you. 5 pounds, Jamie Mullarkey takes on Mauricio Ruffy. In this one, Ruffy comes in with 4-1 in the last 5 fights, 3-2 for Mullarkey. Mullarkey's kind of one of those guys that's pretty much a jack of all trades, right? He's good enough everywhere, but not really great in any one specific thing. He's a tough matchup for most people because he probably has skills where you lack if you are not also a very well-rounded fighter. Mullarkey, decent striking. Like I said, pretty decent everywhere. Good volume. He just sticks the jab. And he used to be able to break guys with his durability. His striking defense has never been there. But he was able just to weather the storm, break guys down over the fight. But that durability is fading on him. And that is a problem for him in the striking, especially in this matchup, which we'll go over in a moment. But he starts kind of slow, works his way into fights, and it's just not the same as it once was. Now, I understand he's still 3-2 in his last 5, but when he is losing, he's getting cracked, he's getting dropped, he's getting knocked out, things like that. Does have decent grappling. If he mixes in the takedowns, that's a pretty good ability for him. He does have pretty good top control. He's not the type that's just going to be out grappling better grapplers, but he does well enough that if you are not a good grappler, he's going to be able to use his grappling to beat you. So Mullarkey, very good at just being good where you're not, right? Ruffy on the other side, more of a striker. He's got very good striking with a ton of power. In fact, all 9 of his wins are by knockout in some form or the other, knockout or TKO, whatever you want. He strikes very well up the middle. It's that front kick and then that 1-2. He has those are his 2 strikes, his 2 things, his 2 tools in the tool bag that he likes to use the most, and he uses those to keep you at his range at the end of his punches and kicks, and he puts some power behind them, obviously, because he's knocking guys dead. Good takedown defense as well, and I think he's going to be able to use that power as well as that takedown defense to keep this fight on the feet and put a hurting on Jamie Mullarkey. So for me, I got to go with Ruffy in this one, but if Mullarkey pulls off another just kind of fight where you're not that good victory, it could be done. Ruffy has to be the side for me, though. I'll see you guys in the next one. In the lightweight division for this one, we have Joaquim Silva taking on Klose. And guys, this is my obligatory joke about this being a close fight. See what I did there? Klose, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's taking on Joaquim Silva, who is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Level of competition's been a little bit different, but, you know, it is what it is. For Klose, dude's a good striker, pretty good volume. He's accurate and puts together good combinations. He's kind of one of those guys, similar like I mentioned in the Jamie Mullarkey fight, where he's pretty much just kind of good everywhere. I think he's better than Jamie Mullarkey, but he's just good everywhere and not really just bad anywhere. So he can beat guys by going to where they're not good. And I do think he's like the leveled up version of a Jamie Mullarkey in that sense. And it would probably, I want to say more durability, but he also was hurt by a push. So I know everybody says like this, that, and the other, and says that that's not something to be ashamed of or whatever, but it kind of is. If you get pushed and it hurts, like, come on, man, it's hard to like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a jerk. I'm probably a jerk. Either way, Klose, he's going to be accurate, good combinations, and good volume. In the grappling, he's got good takedowns. He can get on top, use his grappling, his wrestling abilities. He's got good takedown defense and good submission defense as well. And realistically, I don't think he wants to be on the mat with Joaquim Silva here. So I think these are the things he's going to use, the takedown defense and the submission defense. Could he land a couple takedowns? Sure. I don't think he should, because Joaquim Silva, he's good with the jiu-jitsu. He's very active from his back. He's got the submission skills, and the dude has good sweeps. I know he prefers to be a striker, at least in the UFC. From what I can tell, that's what he's been doing, and it's because he's a good striker as well. Dude's got good power. He's a counter striker. Land on you, do a good job there. But a lot of times the volume isn't going to be as high as his opponents, and I think Klose is going to have a better volume here, and I think that's what's going to get it done. So ultimately for me, in a close fight, I'm taking Klose. Let me know what you have, and I will see you guys. Featherweight, John Silva takes on William Gomis. Gomis is 5-0 in the last 5. Same for John Silva. In fact, these guys' records are pretty darn close, and so on paper, this looks like a great matchup. And I think in practice, it's a great matchup as well. The height, though, the height and reach is a big advantage for Gomis here. He's 6 foot with a 73-inch reach as opposed to the 5'7", 69-inch reach of Silva. Gomis, good striker, good counters, range control, stays on the outside, looks for his shots, excellent body kick, and his striking defense is on, right? Just doesn't get hit a ton, able to stay at range, able to control that, and then use his length to keep his opponents where he needs them and land his shots. His volume, though, it's not that good. His volume is very low, at least most of the time. If you make him fight, it's different, but typically it's going to be a low-volume fight for Gomis. He's a good wrestler as well. He's got pretty good ground and pound, and his scrambling abilities they're up there, right? He's got better scrambling abilities than a lot of guys who are primary strikers. And although I would say he does have good grappling, I do think he is a primary striker. I don't think that's crazy to say by any means. But so for Gomis, I think he's well-rounded. I think he's got the abilities to stay safe in a lot of matchups. But he's going against a guy that's going to crash forward in John Silva, who is also a good striker with plenty of power, very accurate in his shots, keeps his hands low and stays light on his toes, and can kind of goad his opponents into a brawl a lot of the times. Now, is that going to work against Gomis? That's going to be a good question. But he does have a quick head kick to go along with all of these other skills that I mentioned. The power, the forward pressure, the accuracy in the punches, things like that. The one thing I don't like for him, though, is the height and reach disadvantage, where he's coming in with his hands low, and he's going to try to like land these big, powerful shots that are accurate and everything like that, and he's good with them. But he's going to have to close the distance. And then also with his hands being low, he's going to have to cover more distance with that punch to land the shot. So in the striking department, I think Gomis is going to be the better at landing his good shots. It's just, is his volume going to be enough to win? Now in the grappling, we haven't seen a ton from John Silva in the grappling, but he does have a quick guillotine. I do know that for sure. And he does seem pretty difficult to control on the mat from what I understand. Ultimately, though, I'm going to take Gomis to get this win. He's going to stay on the outside, land his shots, keep his range. I think he's going to get it done by decision, and I think it's going to be a close fight. I think this is one of the harder fights to call on this card, just for the fact that it's kind of either one way or the other, somebody's going to implement their specific game plan, and the fight's going to look very much like they want it. It's not likely to be a back and forth fight round over round, if you know what I mean. So for me, Gomis is probably going to keep that range and use that. But let me know what you think. I know a lot of people are on the other side. I'd love to hear from you. Waits up next. Brener takes on Orolbai. Both of these guys are 5-0 in their last 5 fights. This is probably the fight on the card that I've had the most trouble picking, honestly. I think it's the last one that I actually officially made my pick on, and I think it's going to be a tough fight for either of these guys. This is a good matchup. Both guys have looked great coming into this one. For Orolbai, like I said, he's 5-0 in the last 5, so he's obviously looked pretty good. Same thing over there for Brener. Orolbai, solid grappler with really good body lock takedown, and he can just keep on it. He chains these takedowns attempts together. Got good mat returns when his opponent works their way back up. He's got good top pressure, and he kind of just grinds on opponents. He likes to take the back and grind on from there as well. But he takes what's given to him, right? If you give him the opportunity to land some ground and pound, he'll take it. If you give him the opportunity for a submission, he'll take it. But typically, he's ground and pound first, but that's because that's usually what people give up first. But he'll take what's given. He's not going to force anything, get him be positionally sound, and just wear on his opponents in the grappling. In the striking, he has very good ability to use his range, right? Dude's got really long arms, like not necessarily the biggest wingspan per se, but his arms are super long, right? Now, wingspan, if you know, is measured by all the way across from arm to arm. So shoulder width can count for wingspan. However, arm length is simply just your arm length. And he's got very long arms. Stand there, throw these big, long, rangy, straight punches, and he's got pretty good zip on those punches as well. So for Orolbai at range, he's going to be able to use his long straights, but the grappling is what's going to happen once they get in close. For Brener, dude is solid in the jiu-jitsu, right? He's got good sweeps. He uses the submission attempt from the back to try to get the sweeps. He's got good elbows from the ground and pound when he is on top and tries to cause a lot of damage in doing so. He does have a good arm bar, and if he needs to get the fight to the mat, his open mat takedowns aren't really the best, but he can get them from the clinch. So if it comes up in the clinch, which is very close to where that body lock's going to come from, Brener is going to be able to use his takedowns there with the trips. So he could end up on top in that situation. In the striking, I would say he's probably the better striker out of the two, but he's gonna have to close a little bit of range because I think Orolbai is going to be a lot bigger than him when we see them face off. Forward pressure's there, the volume's there. He's got very good knees up the middle, and that's something that could end up being a good move against Orolbai, keeping him afraid of coming in, getting low, getting around the hips, things like that. And he's also extremely durable. We saw that in quite a few of his fights, where he's just able to take a beating and keep on coming. The cardio holds up, the durability holds up, the pressure holds up. At the odds, I'm having a really hard time not taking Brener, but what I really see happening over and over is the takedown coming from Orolbai. I think he's going to be able to grind this one out and win enough of the fight to get the win on the scorecards. But I won't be surprised if Brener gets it. For me, this is a pass. I'm going to kick my feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and just enjoy this one. Because for me, Orolbai has to be the pick. But it's a good fight. It's a close fight. No bet on this one. Just watch this one and figure out where these two stand in the division. Let me know what you have. We have Kowalkiewicz taking on Yasmin Lucindo in the strawweight division. Both of these ladies are 4-1 in their last 5 fights. The big difference, though, is the age. Lucindo, 22 years old. She's just a young pup. That's 10 years younger than me. She's still got a lot to grow into her career, into her skill set, all that stuff, but she's looking pretty promising thus far. On the other side, 38 years old in Kowalkiewicz. She's coming towards the end of her career, you would assume. Maybe not. Maybe she's going to put in another 4 years or so and be like Holly Holm where she just keeps on going. But I think that at 38, she's probably getting towards the end of her career. Her skill set is pretty well refined at this point. It is what she has. You're not going to see a bunch of different developments in the positive sense. Fight to fight. So we got what we got. We got the young up-and-comer versus the grizzled vet. For Lucindo, we're going to start with her. She's got solid jiu-jitsu. She's a very good body lock takedown, in which once she gets it there, she uses her ground and pound to advance position. She's got good top pressure as well, and she can find the submission if it opens up. If she can get that with the ground and pound, get you to give up a limb, give up a neck, something like that, then she'll go for that submission. But typically, she's going to use that ground and pound to advance position and do what she needs to do from there. Good striking as well. She's got good combinations, counters, decent power as well. Lucindo, like I said, she's young. She's going to be more explosive here, more quick, things like that. But she's going against the more experienced fighter in Kowalkiewicz, who's a solid striker, has decent power, but the volume's probably going to be her better weapon here. Good combinations that she puts together. She's going to be probably even the cleaner striker, I would say. But The grappling, she's not quite there, right? She comes from a striking background. She does have decent wrestling, and she mixed that in later in her career. She does have the ability to mix in a takedown and has decent top control once she gets there. Her takedown defense is pretty good as well, but I think she needs to keep this fight on the feet, at range, using her volume and just putting together those combinations in order to get the win. Ultimately, though, I think Lucindo gets it done. I can see her doing that just by being the more aggressive, younger, more powerful, more explosive fighter. And I think that she is going to be developing quite a bit. So I think she's going to be a better version of what we saw in her last matchup. So give me Lucindo. Let me know what you have. And featherweight, Joe Anderson Brito takes on Jack Shore. Shore is 4-1 in his last 5. Likewise for Brito at 4-1 in his last 5. Interesting matchup. Good matchup. I like the way that the UFC is thinking here, because in this one, I do think that Brito is going to bring an exciting, kind of in-your-face, powerful style, and Jack Shore is going to try to just implement his grappling, get that going, get the fight to the mat, and look to finish the fight that way, right? So I think it's going to make for a wild fight for as long as it lasts. Jack Shore, being the grappler, like I said, he's got solid grappling. He likes to get his takedowns from the wrestling clinch, get those underhooks, things like that, work his way to the mat, whether it be drop down for a double leg, single leg, body lock, whatever. He's got the options, and he does a good job with it. He's also really hard to take down, has a good sprawl, things like that. When he gets the fight to the mat, his goal is to take the back, flatten his opponent out, pepper them with ground and pound until they give up the rear naked choke. That is what he wants to do. That is the game plan. And if he can do that here, he's going to be able to get the win, right? In the striking, he's going to be outmatched. But his striking is decent because he stays pretty safe, and he's able to use his threat of his wrestling in order to land some strikes, get his own striking going. But I think Brito is the better striker, and I do think Jack Shore needs to get this fight to the mat. Now, for Brito, if this fight gets to the mat, he's not toast, right? Dude's going to start this fight fast. He's going to need to try to get things done early, because I think in the third round, this is likely a Jack Shore fight at that point if it gets that far, because Brito starts so quickly that sometimes he does burn out a little bit. But his grappling is good. He can push guys up against the cage and work for trips and takedowns there. And he also likes to take the back once the fight gets to the mat, and he looks for the rear naked choke as well. So these guys are similar in that aspect. It's just the style at which they do it is different. Shore likes to flatten guys out by getting those hooks in, getting their, making it so their back's kind of arched like this and they don't have a chance, and then starts going for it. Brito likes to get around the back, start looking for the, traditional, take the rear naked choke. So it's like more jiu-jitsu versus wrestling style of getting the rear naked choke from MMA standpoint. So both guys want the back. Both guys are looking for the rear naked choke, just different styles of it, right? Brito on his feet, I think, is going to be the better striker. He's got good forward pressure, and he strikes extremely well while moving forward. Tons of power, and that leg kick is nasty. Ultimately, for me, this is a tough one to call, but I'm going to side with Brito because of two things. One, being the better striker, the more powerful, things like that. But two, at 145 pounds, I think he's going to be the guy that's more filled out for the division. Although Jack Shore has seemed to fill out the division a little bit more, he is a former bantamweight, and I do think that Brito's going to be able to use that power and that size advantage on him. So Brito's the pick. Let me know what you have, though. And in the middleweight division, Paul Craig takes on Caio Borralho. I'm probably going to mess up. I'm just going to call him Craig from here on out because I struggle to do that consistently, and I don't want to restart the video every time I screwed up. But either way, Borralho 5-0 in the last 5. Craig is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. For Borralho, the dude's probably got the more well-rounded. He definitely has a more well-rounded skill set here, right? He's a solid grappler, good takedowns, good trips, solid control, good sweeps, takes the back. That's probably where his best is, when he takes the back. He does a good job in all this, right? On the feet, he's going to have good striking with the range control, good countering ability, long-rangey straights. He does keep his chin up a little bit high. I don't really like that too much, but in this matchup, I don't know that that's going to be a problem for him. So for Borralho, he's the better fighter overall, right? Paul Craig's got one thing that he's really, 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 really good at, and that's his active guard. From the bottom, this dude is scary. He's got an incredibly good triangle. In fact, that's his best weapon by far. But he can also land other stuff. You can get the arm bars from there. He can get different submissions, but that triangle is his go-to. He's willing to pull guard and stay there, though, and that's a big red flag for me. When he has such a specific thing that he needs to get the win, it scares me away from picking him in most fights. His striking can be good when he's confident in it, and we've seen him land some good shots on guys because they don't expect it, right? But the problem is, his striking defense is horrible, and he really just wants to get this fight to the mat. So oftentimes he's giving up stuff. He's giving up position. It's just not what you want. But Paul Craig can pull this off. He's pulled it off against some of the best fighters up a division at light heavyweight, and he's a very good fighter, right? It's just specific. There's a specific thing that he needs to have happen typically in most of his fights. Now, if he gets on top of Borralho on the ground, I think he's going to have some pretty good success there too. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to end up on his back and he's going to be looking for that triangle at some point. And if he gets it, great. If he doesn't, Borralho's getting the win. So I'm going to go with Caio Borralho to get this one done. If you think Paul Craig's going to lock up a triangle, let me know. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And maybe you can just bet triangle because that's probably how he wins if he does win. I'll see you guys next. Michel Pereira takes on Ihor Potieria. Potieria, he's got a new home at middleweight, much like Pereira here. 2-3 in the last 5 for Potieria, 5-0 for Pereira. Now, here's the deal, guys. Potieria shown some improvements lately. He's looked pretty good. This is going to be a big test for him, though, right? Because he looked good in his last fight. He looked good in the fight before that, where he may have lost, but he may have won that fight against anybody else. Let's put it that way. Dominated right out of the gate. Nearly got the finish. Probably could have got the finish if the referee decided, like, if it was a different referee who was maybe just a slight bit more quick on the trigger. But it wasn't, and he got the loss after he gassed out. His cardio has faded on him, but he's a very fast starter, and that's why he's dangerous in most of his fights. He's got powerful striking. He's going to come forward, and he's going to strike in bursts. But his defense is terrible, and he does not check leg kicks whatsoever. So for Potieria, I think he's live in that early part of this fight, but I think as the fight goes on, his cardio is going to fade. And Pereira is a guy whose cardio has faded in the past as well, but he's gotten a lot better at managing it in recent memory. And I think he's going to be okay in this one. That's why I put a question mark next to his cardio here as opposed to just a straight up minus. I do think that Pereira's unorthodox style that he has been toned down a little bit because he's all around a good striker, but sometimes he does goofy stuff, and that's what's cost him. But he hasn't done that as much lately. He's cleaned things up. He's got good movement. He's got good power. Lands heavy shots. He's very explosive, and that flying knee he's got is deadly. Hasn't used it as much lately because he's gone to a more traditional style, but still with elements of that capoeira style that he has in the back pocket, right? Good jiu-jitsu as well. He's got decent takedowns. He's got ability to sweep if he does get taken down himself. Honestly, I think Pereira should get this one done. And I'm one of the guys who's been one of the biggest Pereira haters early on in his career. And I'm pretty sure I picked Tristan Conley against him, actually, which is wild. I didn't have a channel then, actually, so bear with me. But for Michel Pereira, I think he's actually really started to come into his own, and I'm going to take him here to get this win over Potieria. And I'm nervous in that first couple of minutes. But after that, I think Pereira takes over, and I think maybe he could even win in the first couple of minutes as well. So that's where I'm at. I think he covers the line. I think he's a solid pick. If you got him early when he was like minus 270, you did your job. That's where you should have played him. Now it's crazy. But either way, let me know what you have. Are you on the Potieria side? And if so, let me know why. Weights are up next. Go ahead and like this video if you haven't done it already. It's right below the video. You should scroll right down, click on the little thumbs up icon. I'd appreciate it very much. We have the light heavyweights here. Anthony Smith takes on Vitor Petrino. Petrino's still undefeated at 11-0. He's 5-0 in his last 5. He's taking on a veteran here in Anthony Smith, who's had tons of fights. He's 2-3 in his last 5, which isn't the best look, but the level of competition Anthony Smith has been fighting is much different than the level of competition Vitor Petrino has been fighting. Now, that's not a knock on Petrino. The dude's only 11-0 in his career. He's on the way up. So it's just going to be kind of a test of, is this step up in competition against this veteran in Anthony Smith too much of a step up for him or not quite yet? Or he's still going to keep climbing. Where's he going to find that spot in his division? Maybe he's the champion. Maybe he's not. Whatever it's going to be, whatever his spot in the division is, we haven't found it yet. And Anthony Smith is going to be that next step up the ladder. So for Petrino, coming in with all the momentum, Smith coming in with all the experience and against that high-level competition. Petrino, good striker, tons of power, very dangerous in the pocket, but he keeps his hands kind of low and his striking defense suffers because of it. In the grappling, he's got this new wrestling wrinkle in his game where he's very powerful in it, so he can mix in the takedowns and just power guys to the mat. He has decent top pressure, mostly due to that strength and power, but his takedown defense isn't the best. Now, he can work back to his feet, and he does so very quickly, but he does get taken down. Now, for Petrino, a lot of his skills are, amplified due to his strength, power, and athleticism. So for Petrino, you've got to take some of this stuff I say and then add that as a multiplier to it, right? For Anthony Smith, on paper, this guy's going to be the better fighter, right? He's got more skills in the toolbox. He's showing up to the job site with one of those big old toolboxes that you got on wheels. It's got all the drawers, every socket you could ever need. He's showing up with that toolbox, right? Anthony Smith has that, but they're old tools. They've been around for a while. A little bit of wear and tear. Maybe some of them could use a little WD-40 to get moving again, just like they used to. You know what I mean? So he's been around a while. The analogies are here today. Good. He's got good striking, and he strikes very good moving forward. When he's coming at you, landing his shots, hitting the elbows as you come in, he's doing awesome. When he starts moving backwards, that's when Anthony Smith has the problem. He gets up against the cage, and he starts doing this thing where he just starts kicking away with the front kicks, but his back's up against the cage, so there's no power on these kicks. He's just trying to keep range, and then you're going to start landing on him. It's going to hurt him. He does not do well moving backwards, but forward, this guy's a train wreck coming through there, just hitting you, knocking everything out. If you're a poor little deer in the train track, and this train's coming through, he's going to flatten you and splatter you all over the darn front of the train. But Anthony Smith, like I said, backwards is a problem for him. Now, he does have a good snapping front kick, not the one where he's up against the cage just trying to keep you away with those teeps. But when he comes forward and snaps that front kick up underneath your ribs, he does a good job there. He's shown a ton of durability in the past. His last fight, Khalil hits like a truck, but, it was a bad loss. That knockout did not look good. It didn't look good. You don't want to see that for a guy at this point in the career, but damage is taking it. So the durability, take this number or this plus sign with a grain of salt. He might be fading in that, and he does not check leg kicks, so there's that as well. Now, in the grappling department, he's going to have more skills here, right? The problem is he's content to work off his back. If Petrino gets on top, start using that decent top pressure, Smith might be trying to throw up these submissions, but if he doesn't get one, he's just giving up time on the bottom, and he's willing to do that. And it's unfortunate because Smith has the better grappling here. If he starts looking for a sweep, starts looking for, things like that to get on top, he could actually be the one that's winning the grappling exchanges because he has good ground and pound. He's got a massive toolbox advantage. Like I said, he's got that big toolbox showing up against Petrino. But Petrino being younger, faster, stronger is going to level the playing field. Now, honestly, Petrino should probably win the fight. But here's the deal. I like Anthony Smith. I believe in Anthony Smith because, you know what? He's a hometown guy. He lives right down the street. Anthony Smith is just a good dude in the community. And I can't pick against him. So maybe don't listen to me on this one because I'm probably picking a little bit more with my heart than I am with my brain. But I like Anthony Smith, and I'll take him, especially as like a +4 something underdog. You know what? Screw it. Give me one massive underdog that you guys can make fun of me for in the comments next week when I get this one wrong. But you know what? I think he can pull it off because I think he is a true grizzled veteran. And if anybody's going to pull it off, it's Anthony Smith when you least expect it. So we're going Anthony Smith, and you guys can make fun of me if you like. I don't care. I'm taking him. Co-main event here for the bantamweight division. We have Jonathan Martinez taking on Jose Aldo. If you haven't done it already, hit like on this video. I do appreciate it. Let's break this one down. Aldo is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but he's coming out of retirement. And I feel it might be a one-off because I don't see him wanting to come back and just, go into like a full career run at the title again. But maybe I'm wrong. But at 37 years old, I don't know if that's what he's doing, but he is down in Brazil, getting a co-main event spot. I can see why they booked it, right? I can see why he wants to do this. He's fighting Jonathan Martinez, who's looked great as of late. He's 5-0 in his last 5, 30 years old, still coming into his prime. Dude has looked untouchable lately, right? Good matchup, I guess, on paper, but Aldo obviously has more of a toolbox. He's got the bigger skill set. And Aldo's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And it makes it tough to break this fight down as an unbiased person. But I think I can here. And I think I can because I understand that Aldo isn't the same Aldo that he once was. He's actually looked pretty good, even in his recent fights, or the most recent ones we remember. But he's a different fighter, right? He's a different fighter. He still has excellent striking. Dude's got footwork. Very hard to corner. When he does, as you corner him, he'll kind of clinch up with you and just kind of direct you around and move you where he wants you. He's got a good jab. He can double and triple it up. Just boom, sticking it out there. Boom, boom, things like that. And he's putting on opponents. And he's used that jab to a lot of success in his matchups. It's stiff, powerful jab. Got really fast hands. Puts together good combinations. Starts with different styles of punches, whether that be like a lead uppercut or something like that. He'll mix in some different stuff and start combinations in different ways. It doesn't have to all be a 1-2 to start a combination, which a lot of guys start with. Good counters in the head movement is part of that because what happens is he gets out of the way and then comes back with a counter shot. He's really good at just getting out of the way or rolling with a punch and snapping back with a counter. He's got excellent kicks, and he's going to check kicks as well, which is going to be important for him. Now, he hasn't kicked as much in his recent fights. He's more into the boxing, which is why he's been doing boxing outside of his MMA career. But he does have the kicks. His soccer history makes it so that makes sense. Those kicks, the way he's just able to generate force like that, being a former professional soccer player, he does have a pretty good job of getting the hip turned over and slamming that shin into you. He's deadly in the pocket, but sometimes he's willing to stay there just a little bit too long, and I don't necessarily think that's going to cost him here because I think at range is where he's going to struggle as opposed to in the pocket. But he is very deadly there in the pocket, and he's extremely durable. Outside of the McGregor knockout, the dude's hard to put out, right? The dude's taking some shots from some of the harder hitters in both featherweight and bantamweight division, and Aldo's just kept coming. Now, he's had a couple of TKO losses, I do believe, but that McGregor one is the only one where he's put out. He's excellent in the clinch, good control. Like I said, you just kind of control people, move him around, but he does get hit when the clinch breaks. A lot of guys will land a shot as it's going away, and for some reason, he doesn't. He's willing to break and just kind of do one of these and come out rather than break and strike on his own. So that's a problem. But in the takedowns, the defense is there. It's really difficult to control. And he does have some really good jiu-jitsu, but I don't think he's going to need it here. I think this matchup's going to probably end up being a striking matchup because both guys are primarily strikers. Martinez, dude's a solid striker. He's got kicks to all levels. His leg kick in particular has been one of his best moves. In fact, he's used that to finish a handful of people. It's darn good. He's got a darn good leg kick, but he can kick elsewhere, right? He can throw those kicks high, throw them to the body, all that good stuff. He's got good volume and he's got good combinations. But the thing I like the most about Jonathan Martinez is his ability to strike with a game plan. He takes a game plan that he needs, implements that in the fight, and sticks to it. And that game plan is what he's going to use to beat his opponents typically. And it's going to change fight to fight. He's going to do it based on his opponent. And that's something not a lot of fighters do. They want to just do what they do every time. Martinez is good at switching it up, finding the right game plan, and doing what he needs to do. He's got good jiu-jitsu, scrambles, sweeps, all that stuff, and he's probably going to have the better cardio here. Aldo's faded in the past, typically in a 5-round fight and at featherweight, so I don't think it's going to be an issue here. But at the same time, in those featherweight title fights is basically when he's faded. But I do think Aldo in this fight here, down at bantamweight, probably will be fine with the cardio. He has looked better with cardio at bantamweight, which doesn't make a lot of sense because usually when you cut more weight, your cardio is worse. I don't know. Either way, Martinez is probably gonna have the better cardio though over the course of the fight. As the fight goes, I think he's gonna have the volume to be just a bit higher than Aldo. But either way, Aldo's got the skills. He's the better fighter on paper. He's the better fighter, skill for skill. But I think Martinez is gonna be able to get this one done. And the reason I think that is because I think Aldo is doing this fight to come back, get one more in Brazil. I don't feel like I feel like Martinez is going to be able to get it done just because this is a 37-year-old Aldo who has not been fighting in the UFC. And I think it's going to be a close fight, but I did find a way to play both sides and make it plus money either way for me. I don't know if you've been able to do that, but if you have been able to do that, good job, way to go. I'll take Martinez. I'm rooting for Aldo. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time, but I think the younger guy is going to get it done. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the main event. We finally made it to our main event of the evening. Alexandre Pantoja defends his flyweight championship against Steve Erceg, who is relatively new to the UFC, but Pantoja's kind of cleared out the division on the way to the top, beaten multiple top contenders multiple times. So Erceg gets a shot, which, I mean, the dude's 12-1, 5-0 in the last 5. It's not that it's not that bad of a thing. And his first fight in the UFC was against a ranked contender in which he got the win. He took it on short notice even, beats a ranked guy, and then goes right. So although it's a bit weird, 3 fights in the UFC, gets a title shot, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's a pretty good option for him. And with that record, with that 5-0 in the last 5, 3 wins in the UFC, looks good in all of them. It's fair. I'll take it, especially with the way that Pantoja's beaten everybody else. Now, for Erceg, dude's a good striker, got good straight shots, good volume, good leg kicks, good combinations, but the defense is a bit of a problem at times. His durability, he's made up for it, though. This dude does put together clean combos, and at first, when he was coming up, it was a lot of single shots, a lot of just throwing the straights, maybe the 1-2, and then the leg kicks, and things were all separate. But now he's really put stuff together, started throwing combinations, and he's looking a lot better. His striking has really developed as of late. Even after he got to the UFC, it's developed even since then. Jiu-jitsu, this is where he's the best, right? Very solid in the jiu-jitsu, large toolbox. He's got really good top control, and he's really quick to attack submissions, especially the chokes. He has various different chokes that he can go for, but he's looking for the neck, right? The limbs, he'll take them, I guess, if you give it to him, but that's not what he's looking for. He's looking to get that neck, get a choke, and get the finish. And I think a lot of that comes down to he can keep the top control and attack a choke without giving up position. And that makes sense, right? So for Erceg, that's probably his best weapon. On the other side, for Pantoja, Dude is a solid striker with really good forward pressure. This guy's going to just fight hard for 25 minutes, no problem. Good leg kicks, works the body both with punches and kicks, and he's got pretty good long straight power shots as well. In the grappling department, he's one of the better grapplers in the division, if not in the UFC. The dude is excellent with his transitions, good sweeps, good scrambles, good ground and pound. In fact, in some of these grappling exchanges with the Brandons, Moreno and Royval, this dude has just been able to just outdog people by outworking them. I just had a bug hit me in the face. Why is it here? Outdog and outwork people in those grappling exchanges. And when he gets to someone's back, that rear naked choke is lights out. This dude is a rear naked choke specialist. A back taker is what I would define him as in his grappling approach. So for me, I think this is a good fight, but I think Pantoja is a guy that people often want to bet against, and I don't understand why. The guy is fantastic. He's 27-5. He's beaten some of the best guys in the division, and some of the best guys to ever do it, and he's beaten some of them multiple times. I've got to take Pantoja. I think he's just too much of a dog to lose to Erceg here. And I think even if Erceg has moments, I think Pantoja is going to fight through it and get the win. And I think he's actually probably going to get a rear naked choke at some point in this matchup. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Before we go, guys, I have some information. It's going to be Thursday at 9, we're going to say 9:20, actually. 9:20 p.m. EDT. That's Eastern Daylight Time. For those of you that don't understand how time zones work, there's a thing called Daylight Savings Time. That a lot of you are still putting EST on your stuff when you're announcing times. It's DT because it's daylight time. We're going off Eastern Daylight Time. So 9:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The panel, me and the Couch Warrior, we're going to be doing the darn thing. We've got a couple of really, really solid guests this week. Any Action Effie from over on the Any Action Sportscast. And we've got Guru Scouting MMA from Chronic Combat Conversations. Obviously, Couch Warrior is going to be there. He's my co-host. The four of us are going to go through this entire card, but we're going to go through it kind of giving each other some back and forth. So maybe you're going to hear some new opinions from me, but you're also going to hear from those guys and maybe how our opinions can sway each other. It's going to be a good time, but also it's just fun hanging out in the chat. So guys, if you're not going to be there, you're going to be missing out. Be there live in the chat. That's important because we'll respond to your questions. We're going to hang out. We're going to be having a good time. We'll go as long as we need to get through the whole card and still be able to go back and forth with you guys. So make sure you don't miss that live. If you watch the replay, sure, that's fine. I appreciate it. But the live is going to be where the fun is. So be sure to tune in 9:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I'll see you guys there.